So you guys are just looking for excuses to drink while you do this?
Well, we are. Well, exactly, because the bourbon one was actually shot in a bar. So yeah,
I like it.
Those are the only clients we're allowing on, and the ones that are alcohol based. So
we're down.
Yeah, it definitely adds to it. So, all right. Well, welcome back. This is the Chop Up episode 15, and today is a special episode. We got Jimmy in the house from Seaside Brewery. So we actually have some beer here as well. So we gotta crack a couple of these and have some beverages as we get this thing going. So Seaside Brewery. So you guys are out. I mean, there's a lot of people watching who have no clue where Seaside is. So maybe you could give a little history on where the brewery is and what you've been doing.
You'd be surprised how many people ask where Seaside is, and then when you tell them Seaside, they
go,
all right.
Oh, no shit.
Makes sense.
Seaside, Oregon.
Yeah, North Oregon coast. It's the oldest resort town on the Oregon coast. And
is it really?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. I didn't know that.
I think it's the oldest resort town on the West Coast. So
really,
Astoria is the oldest settlement west of the Mississippi.
Damn.
So that's kind of where the whole thing started.
Okay.
Lewis and Clark and everything. That's right where Lewis and Clark ended was right in Seaside, and that's where their salt works were.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen the trail and the whole ending there.
A lot of history out there.
Yeah. So they ended there and then came down, and then Seaside was. Yeah.
They wintered right there.
Perfect. You guys are in an old jail. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the old city hall building, and they built a new city hall in the 80s and moved across the street, and that building largely sat unused and sort of started to fall apart, and we were fortunate enough to be able to to pick it up and keep restoring it, and we decided we would throw a brew pub in there in the brewery.
Perfect.
So
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest buildings left in Seaside.
Damn, that's cool. You got a nice little location there for sure. You had actually kind of started the whole redesign logo process with a different studio.
I always kind of had this idea in my head of this S, and I was stuck not being a designer guy, being a beer guy. I wanted, I would always kind of envision the side of a truck, like a big semi truck, with a bunch of cans in it, with a big S on the side. And I wanted it to be iconic enough that people could look at it and it would be like a swoosh.
Yeah.
Like that's Seaside.
For sure.
And I was stuck on the idea of a tentacle in the shape of an S.
Yes.
And and it was probably tough for the other studio to get what I was talking about too. And I understand now, like really how unrealistic it was to just have a floating S, because it's tough to terminate two sides of an octopus thing. So
totally,
not having a designer mind, I wanted something I couldn't have, but I knew that we wanted an S of some sort somehow. I just needed somebody to coach me a little bit on what was realistic and come up with some better ideas than I had in my head.
And that's where we kind of got started, like on these round one comps. We're like, hey, let us give it a shot. Let us see if we can actually, take a tentacle and make an S out of it and make it work. So what you're seeing here are these first 8 comps that we sent you. And, it's one of those things, like you said, it's really hard, because how do you end the tentacle? Do you if it's chopped off, is that cool? Is that something you want?
Looks like something you're gonna eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. No, it looks like a sushi dish or something weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like with the suction cups, at some point does it just start looking like a big worm?
Slug came up a lot.
Yeah, totally, exactly. And then with being up here in the Northwest, we have slugs anyways. So I think you and I went back and forth a little bit, and you had a good comment as far as like, what if this second page, the bottom right, what if it's popping out of the water? And that to me at first I was like, that's kind of cool, that definitely makes sense. But then you still get the end of the tentacle there, where now you got this weird animal, and it's almost like you're looking for the eyes.
It was tough. It was really, really tough to get the S out of a tentacle and have it look like a letter at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, so then we sent across the two version sketches up top, where it's the octopus in the S kind of in the negative space, or it holding an actual letter S. And you quickly gravitated towards that top left one. And we're like, hey, there's something here with the negative space.
Yeah, I remember when I saw that, I was actually on my way back to the Oregon coast from Salt Lake. I had stopped for the night in Boise, and I always crash at this little motel there, kind of a little boutique motel, and they've got a little bar in there. And
Nice.
and I remember sitting at the bar, and I opened up your email on my phone, and I saw that,
Yeah.
and I just remember being like, oh, thank God, like
It can be done.
it can
without,
be
yeah.
it can be done. And,
I see an S and it's not a tentacle.
yeah, and that wasn't
Yeah.
my idea. That was your idea,
Right.
But I had never thought of that sort of negative space thing being incorporated into the logo, and it just instantly made perfect sense.
Yeah.
That was the S I was looking for, and there's the octopus.
It didn't have to be so literal,
Right.
made out of a
Yeah.
tentacle. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool to hear that. And then we kind of you quickly said, one of the first things it's going to be used on, and one of the things that like it really needs to pop on is the tap handle here. I know you said you had these made, and then you never really could use the logo in the middle of this.
Right.
So this is where we kind of we started to mock them up, like what is this going to look like on that tap handle? And that's where the kind of worm S, kind of came into play. And it's like, okay, this does work in the circle on the tap handle, but still, what does it look like? It looks like a weird
Yeah.
S, weird worm. So you're kind of like, hey, let's scrap that. Let's scrap the worms, scrap the tentacle S, and let's push on that idea of negative space. So moving on to round 2, we explored some other options as far as a full octopus, some abstract S's up in the top, and just big old octopus, crazy tentacles, and then kind of came back down to the bottom 2 on the right, where a little more refined. You're getting that super negative space showing the S, and these were getting closer.
Yeah, the stuff up top there, I mean, it's beautiful. It's really cool because it looks like there's movement.
Yeah.
But what I've learned over the years, because I know that these things are going on hats and hoodies and T-shirts and the things
Got
that
'em.
people come in to buy, and I knew after working with several guys that do screen printing and apparel that that's just really complicated. As beautiful as it is, really tough to put on something. We needed something simple.
Yeah, it has to work on merch.
Yeah, it's got to work on merch.
Yeah. Those bottom 2 were a little bit closer. So you'd come back with some comments, references to a painting in your brewery, as far as like the detail and the suction cups and things like that, which was great for us. So we were able to kind of look at that really simple octopus with the S, and go, okay, we need to add more detail and kind of blow this thing out at this point.
Trying to figure out the face of an octopus, given that that's another problem with this, is how do you how do you get it to have a character, or it's not just like a Casper the Friendly Ghost head or something like that. It's it's got to have like a personality.
Yep. So we went back and forth on some different eyes, and on the detail of the actual octopus. This one was a little bit simpler, a little bolder, but at the same time the eyes are pissed.
We didn't want it to be like too angry.
Yeah.
It's hard to strike the balance. We want an octopus that's a little spooky, it has some personality, a little edgy.
So this is where we kind of honed in on that octopus on the left and tried to dial in basically what's the right amount of detail, what do those eyes look like, and I feel like we landed in a good spot with the eyes. They're not, he's not super pissed, he's not frowning, he's just kind of peering straight at you.
The eyebrows are doing different things, so looks like it's thinking about something.
Yep, exactly.
So it's got a personality.
Exactly. Yep. And then you had mentioned, hey,
might kill you, might hug you. You don't know.
You don't know until you get close, and then it's too late. So then you had mentioned, okay, great, we have this one, that's basically locked up. It is this circle icon. What about a horizontal? What is this thing going to look like? As a horizontal logo. And that's challenging, for an illustrator to go, okay, cool, like this thing, I got this thing dialed. Now how is it going to look horizontal, and how do I keep that S in there? So Damaso, our illustrator, he did all these, and I think he did a good job of that thing kind of laid out, horizontally. You still have the S in there.
We get so many comments from people who have an eye for design, or that see, that can recognize sort of the thought that went into this.
Yep.
It's always fun when those people, talk about it.
Yeah,
as they
notice
say,
it.
they're like, oh, that negative space S, and they're so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, people pick up on it.
Yeah, that's great.
This is what we wanted. We wanted the S.
Exactly.
Somewhere in
Yep.
there.
You got the S. Yep. So we did the horizontal version, and then built out a couple tentacles below that can be used as borders, different things on advertising, merch, or whatever. We illustrated the shark, which ended up being used on the cans later. So then from there, it was like, okay, cool. We have this octopus in this negative space S, awesome. But now what does the type look like? Now it's got to say Seaside Brewery somewhere. So now kind of the battle begins of like, how is that going to lock up? What is that font going to be? What is that type? And then from there, what is the color going to be? So here's some comps as far as what we sent over, because there's a lot of different ways to lock that up. If you have a circle icon, you can run the type all different ways. These first two, the one on the left is a little bit more, I guess, nautical and aggressive in a way. And then the one on the right is a little cleaner, a little safer.
We wanted the octopus to be the focus. We wanted the logo itself to do the talking, and then the font to just be really clear.
Yep.
Without being, pedestrian.
Super boring. Yeah, for sure. And then the one on the right gets a little soft, I feel like. A little bit more rounded. That A in Seaside, that kind of bugs me. You kind of got this really hard, spiky octopus, and then
it turns into something you'd pick up at a regular, T-shirt, rando shop down on the strip.
So moving on to color. So we landed on that second one, which was basically the cleanest type. Great font, great choice. That was exactly what it needed, that very clean type to sit with that super detailed icon,
Yeah.
Super stoked on this. So we presented a bunch of color options, and then come to find out, you mentioned you were colorblind, so you're like,
couldn't care less.
You're like, I could care less. I don't really give a shit. Like,
you guys pick it.
All right.
When it comes to colors, you guys it's all you.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
it was cool.
I can't help you.
And that was kind of cool to kind of be able to pick that, and we kind of ran with the blues color palette, and I think it turned out well. At the same time, it works so well, just black and white, which any logo should be viewed, for the first time in black and white. That thing should work in black and white, on a white background, whatever. So, and I feel like yours works really well on black and white. I mean, you have it on your hat there and everything.
Yeah, it's clean.
Mm-hmm.
I see it the best. So
I like it pops more to you in the black and white, right?
I don't have a lot of colorful clothing. I just have to pick stuff that just matches no matter what it is. So black and white's great.
That's perfect. All right, so final logo. So this is the basically final logo lockup next to the old one. So you can see, in a way, drastically different, a little more cleaned up, more of a solid square circle lockup. And then the final colorway. And then you and I are still battling with this final piece, which is actually up here on the board, that big circle one, or it's down here on this page on the bottom right.
Yeah.
So you're wanting to get Seaside reading off of the S, the negative S there.
Yeah. So on some stuff, again back to merchandising, which we didn't really expect it to explode on us the way that it did, but with the introduction of these new logos, I mean, it's just gone through the ceiling. Merchandising is, some months it's 15% of our revenue.
Really? Yeah.
Whereas
That's
before
great.
it was 1%. Kind of thing.
Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
What happens is, if you have just the logo and then the text underneath it, you need extra space on whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And we're trying to kind of incorporate the text into the logo so that we can bring that octopus out and make it a little bigger.
Yeah.
So you get more detail, it's more recognizable.
Like on this as well.
Yeah, it would be really tough to put Seaside down underneath that when you're trying to fit in the ABVs and the IBUs and the name of the beer on top of it.
Totally.
And same on a hat like this one. The octopus kind of is smaller.
It gets smaller.
Because you need room.
For sure.
For this to be readable. So, the thing about this logo is, and, I don't know at what point you're going to not want to be friends anymore, but, there's always new stuff to put it on. And, and it's a really flexible, agile, logo that we'll probably always be messing with.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'll see it and be like, you changed it.
I figure as long as we keep paying you,
Yep.
we can be semi-friends.
Yes, exactly. As long as you keep bringing the beer, then we're good. And then so we basically dialed in the logo, kind of got that all done, passed that off to you, and then you're like, okay, it's time to start doing some labels. So, and in the beginning, we kind of just went wild. We were like, okay, cool, labels. You didn't say really too much of what you wanted or didn't want, so we were like, cool, we're just gonna run with this thing. And we went wild with like colors and textures and backgrounds that you kind of see here in all these first comps.
They're all cool. They're all cool.
I kind of like this.
I like all of
this
them.
horizontal one with the big giant octopus, but it wraps the can, so at some point you're only seeing
Right.
the eye of the octopus.
Yeah, with cans, people take them down to the prom and they set it on the prom,
Take a photo.
They take a photo
Yep.
of it and they Instagram that stuff
Yep.
or whatever. And so
Yeah.
they, like the information.
You only get this.
Yeah. It's got to be right there in front.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But you have a whole can to wrap, so.
Yeah. And so we went through all these different kind of styles with the blues and
All these were cool.
the kind of cream and stuff like that. Sent those over to you, and then you kind of came back and were like, hey, these are great, but let's keep this thing clean and simple and just go black and white. We're going to print these things on clear on a silver can, so let's just work black and white only, which is cool. We're like, all right, let's do it. So sent these over to you. I kind of like this one. I want to, and we have yet to to use these on things, whether it's an Instagram post or animate them or something, but those tentacles kind of coming up and out of different places, I think would be super fun.
We got a lot more cans to do, man.
Yeah.
It's been really different working with you guys than all of the other experiences that I've had working with designers. Some of the things that I wasn't sure were going to work totally worked, and I just got to I got to trust you guys that what works. And it's not always like my idea of what's perfect is not always perfect. And so, that was kind of a life lesson for me, relative to design and branding, was trust the guys that do it for a living.
Right.
And the little things that I have to add to it are great, but you guys are really, how this stuff all comes together and how it fits.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you paying us for. So in the end, we should, right? So, we sent over those comps and we ended up on this final one. Clean, simple, straightforward. Love that you went with the shark on the side there. I think that was a great choice.
People love that can.
Do they?
Oh,
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. They love how big they are.
Yep.
And then, that's just there's not a whole bunch to get in the way of the information, that says we're an independent brewery, we're not corporate owned. It's got our logo right there. It's the name. It's all really readable. Yeah. And as you turn that thing in your hand, you get all the information.
Yeah, and I love that.
There's not a whole bunch getting in the way at all.
The ABV and all this stuff is big as well. Which is cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectly sized.
32-ounce can. Can't go wrong with that. So we got that first label down in your hands. You started making cans, and then we moved on to some other stuff. Moved on to the merch, glassware. You had the idea of the seagulls and then the waves as well, which was cool.
Yeah, we get to experiment with this stuff, and our whole idea is to constantly be experimenting with this logo and different merchandise and stuff. People are eating it up, so we may as well
keep making it.
Screw with a good thing, but that bird thing, when you take that glass and you turn it, and it looks like they're flying because they're crossing each other.
For sure.
This
cool.
one's rotating this way and the ones on the back of the glass rotating that way. And so it just looks like all this movement. It just looks really, really cool. And then as the foam, as you take a sip, they call it Belgian lace, just, keeps going down, and it ends up looking like clouds.
Yeah,
and the glass
cool.
It looks really cool. People have been eating it up, and I thought that people would be way more into the birds than the waves.
Yeah.
And man, it's a 50-50 split.
Is it?
Oh
cool.
People love the waves too.
Yeah. Well, the waves are cool because you get that very heavy black and white contrast, with the waves. So I think that's kind of cool, and especially on a glass with all that black.
We wanted the waves big, but not so big it reminded people of tsunamis.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Especially down there where you're at. Yeah,
Yeah.
You got the warning signs all over, and
But if it happens, you may as well be drinking beer when it happens.
Exactly. Might as well be in the brewery at the time. And then you recently came to us for the 100th anniversary of the Seaside Promenade.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Super cool.
Big deal.
Yeah, the visitor center in Seaside approached us and asked us what we thought about doing a collaboration, something for the anniversary of the prom. It's a weird year, it's still COVID time.
Yeah,
and nobody's really doing anything. And in Seaside, normally we have like these huge events, hood to coast and volleyball and soccer tournaments and. Everything's like the world's largest. It's the world's largest relay race. It's the world's largest volleyball tournament. It's nuts. There really wasn't anything going on when they approached us and said, what are we going to do about this for next year? And so, well, let's brew a special beer. We'll brew a special pail for it that we've never brewed before. We'll do something new and unique. And we wanted several components to show up in this design. We wanted the turnaround in there. This is, there's it's where Lewis and Clark landed. Yep. We wanted obviously the prom. It's the 100th anniversary of the prom, and which, it's between the city and the ocean. This stretch of promenade. It's super iconic, really, really recognizable. And we wanted the Tillamook Head in the background. So anybody who's ever been to Seaside, when they see this, they'll instantly recognize all of these components. Yep.
Davey, our illustrator here, did the sketch, and then Brandon actually took it to final, made the changes, and inked and colored it. But yeah, it turned out good, and that's what we're currently drinking and holding right now.
Yeah, people love these cans.
Yeah, super fun. We need to make a couple teas with both those dudes. With the shark, with the shark and the octopus on the skateboard, which if we move on to the second label, we got the octopus, you got the root beer, you got the octopus being pulled by the dog. So sky's the limit now for what we can do with that little character.
Yeah.
We can get them moving, we can do teas, we can do whatever.
Yeah, this was an interesting one too because, the Little Ripper is what we decided to call the root beer. We're going to call it like Little Grom or something like that, but it was too hard to explain what a Grom is to some people.
And some people don't know.
Some people don't know what a Grom is, even though Seaside is definitely a surfing town. That doesn't mean you can go surf there. It's just a surfing town.
Right.
So let's make sure that we make sure everybody understands that out there on the internet.
Right. But, don't come to surf.
Just surf your own backyard. Yeah. But this little guy, this is like a Seaside kid. This is what they do. They pull themselves around on their skateboards on their way down to the cove or whatever, and
the beanie on, and
they're they're little intense little rippers, and so we decided to call it Little Ripper Root Beer, and
cool.
It's also it's not an alcoholic beverage, and so it's kind of a different feel, and we wanted we want kids to be able to get a can and take it home too.
Totally, and I think they will.
Yeah, and that's what this is all about
for sure. I know, I have a 10-year-old boy, and I know he would be if the can of root beer looked like that, he'd be hyped.
Yeah,
he'd be like, this is cool, so cool. So we wrapped up. We got the 3 labels under our belt now. We're ready to do more. Like I said, it'd be fun to kind of just branch out on these characters.
For sure,
and go nuts. But then to your point earlier, you guys are selling a shit ton of apparel. So then we kicked it into apparel gear and did some apparel designs for you.
Yeah, branched out even from there.
Yeah, because you just kind of had simple logo stuff in the past. Yeah,
really simple. It was this.
Was it? Yeah, just that. Yeah, on a tee. So we did a bunch of different apparel comps for you, and so this first one, Davey did. This is like I think one of the only ones that didn't get used. It's a little younger. If anything, it'd be a kid's tee, with the tentacles wrapping. It's kind of a real bubbly Seaside, type.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And then moving on, we have the Seaside Brewery type with the octopus kind of tentacle coming out. You had a good addition to this, which we'll look at in round 2, that we added, that took this design to the final. Sketch here for the barrel octopus. So super fun. Damaso did this. Another sketch for the shark crushing the can, and then the Seaside dead fish We made a few changes on this, trying to get it right with the face and everything.
Yeah, the rockfish.
Yeah, and then kind of your standard beer label. This was one too we didn't roll with. And then these are just some more standard logo merch.
Yeah, a lot of these things that you guys have done would track really, really well down on the other end of. So Seaside, there's where our brewery is. We're like the entrance to Seaside. Where Broadway it goes right down to the turnaround. That's the main drag in Seaside, right?
Okay.
So we're on Highway 101 and Broadway.
Okay.
So we're the entrance to Seaside, the gate.
Gotcha.
And then if you go all the way down to the other end, that's where all the like really carnival-y stuff is, and the more beachy, that's where all the foot traffic is and stuff like that. It's like the Coney Island of the West Coast kind of thing, and a lot of those designs track really well down there.
Yep.
But where we're at, it's a little bit more of a specific clientele that's walking through our door. And, we don't sell a lot of stuff that's a little bit more colorful, and, they really kind of gravitate more towards, they're older, they're the ones that are walking away with the hoodies and the t-shirts and stuff like that. And so, whereas some of those designs would sell like hotcakes down in the t-shirt shops. There's a bunch of shops down there that just do nothing but t-shirts.
I've been in those. It's like tourist central, like.
Yeah, they'll show up at our place after being there the day before, and they'll all have like cool Story Bro t-shirts,
right?
Or
totally.
Seaside Lifeguard or something, and it's
Yeah.
kitschy, it's tourist stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and you're kind of like, oh.
Yeah, and we're trying to be a little bit more specific to our branding, and so we kind of gravitate more towards the other stuff.
Yeah, stuff that's a little more fun, a little edgy. So kind of moving on to round two, we took this shark, inked it up, took it to final, had a couple different options on the can. Mm-hmm. Had Kookweiser on there in the beginning.
Yeah,
probably would have been
can't
safe.
poke the bear too hard as much as I like to. You gotta. You nudge those guys and remind them we're here, but you don't want to light a fire under them.
No, you don't want them call. You don't want Budweiser calling you up.
No.
Took the octopus barrel head to final art here, which you and I got to talk about before you leave the screen printer.
Yeah.
Kind of get that thing layered out. And
this is a really complicated from a screen printing perspective.
Yep.
This is a complicated one, but
there's a lot of.
We're really excited. Like this one, they can't do by hand. This one's got to go on their big machine.
Yep, for sure. It's detailed.
It's really, really detailed, but it's got that skate vibe. That Seaside's a gritty little punk rock town. I mean, it's a bunch of surfers.
Yeah,
and this feels like Seaside.
Yeah.
I love this design. I can't wait for this one.
Yeah. Dialed in the rockfish, which is the T we got back here. So Dustin worked on this one. We went back and forth on the teeth and the eye. And how pissed he was.
Gave it a little bit more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the first round, we did that type with the octopus, that kind of fun 70s type. You came back and were like, hey, we need to lock that up with a old VW van. Like, that'd look great. So we did two different versions of that. And you said that thing's selling well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? The women like that?
Yeah, you can just hear the squeals from the merchandising room across the bar when they see that one. It's not really a women's design.
No.
It's just a softer side of Seaside, know?
Yeah.
There's not an angry octopus here. There's not a shark. There's not a barrel snapping a surfboard in half kind of a thing. This is just...
Yeah.
For a lot of people that come out to the beach, they're looking for a specific experience. That experience is they're out there with their families. They love seeing the surfers rolling around in their Volkswagens and this like beach vibe, chill beach vibe, And so the coloring on this one, from what I have been told, the yellow, I think we brought a shirt, yellow with a maroon, which I can't see the maroon at all.
No, it's just black.
It just looks black. Yeah.
No, it's maroon.
But that thing is,
that bad boy.
And that really appeals to a specific kind of person that's out at the beach looking for that vibe.
Totally.
And that's what's fun about all of the stuff that we're doing with you guys is we get to experiment with all these different feels, and we sometimes strike gold, and we've never seen a dud ever. But some of them we don't expect the response that we get. It's really fun to watch.
I swear that's always the case. I mean, you do apparel long enough, and it's like the ones you are like, this one's amazing. These other three are okay. It's the okay one that just freaking goes through the roof. Yeah,
I've learned not to think that I'm going to be able to guess it all.
And then so moving on, we got the Lonsdale.
Yeah, it's sort of
which is a English What is it from? I've actually.
It's like it's the old the Everlast is the American
Yes.
version,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
it's a
Yep.
boxing company,
Yeah.
and Seaside,
Lonsdale is as well in Europe. Oh, okay.
originally, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
That
Yep.
stuff's it's edgy, and
Yeah. No, it
Seaside's
is.
Seaside's kind of a little black eye town sometimes,
Yeah.
What this logo is for. And we did another version of this where we moved the octopus down behind all of the lettering.
Yeah, which is this one, right?
Yeah, so that it could, because when we when we got to the screen printers, what we realized was that where it sits on the chest, from a screen printing perspective, it was going to be too low if we had the octopus up high and the lettering down. So you're getting the right across the belly kind of a thing. And so I came to you, and I've told this story before. I'm like, I emailed him and kind of told him what I wanted, and like 10 minutes later, he shot that thing back. And it was literally like 10 minutes later, you shoot that back, and I'm like, done.
Yep, yeah.
All right, we're good.
Yep.
And that shirt is really for the locals.
We did this comp, which is an extension of the shirt you're wearing. So, which is fun.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with suicidal tendencies.
Nope.
So, yep. No, that's
really,
a no-brainer.
Really, really popular
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
aspect of our branding.
So so that's kind of it for the apparel. That's where we're at right now, and you've made some, bunch of hats and beanies and whatnot. So yeah, you guys are moving merch, and we're happy to keep going with it.
Yeah,
It's cool.
We just let the merchandising folks pick colors.
Yeah,
We've
that's
learned
cool.
that it doesn't matter what the color is.
Right, yeah.
Somebody's going to love whatever
Yeah.
color,
Yeah.
and it's going to sell. Sometimes it doesn't sell as fast,
Yeah,
but in our world, as fast is like 2 weeks.
right. That's good.
So
Yeah,
we're constantly, every week, I'm running into town because I need an emergency order of merch.
yeah.
Um,
It's a good problem to have.
Plus with the COVID and everything, we've got these 2 great big 20 by 60 tents out in our east parking lot, and so we're not doing any indoor stuff. We're just all outdoor,
Okay.
and so the coast sometimes can get a little chilly, and they
Selling
just
hoodies like
we
crazy.
just sell crap.
Just stocking up
It's
on
not because
hoodies.
we're not trying to like make people
Yeah,
cold. It's
no.
it's just the coast.
For
Especially
sure.
once the sun goes down, that wind comes off the ocean,
Yep.
gets a little chilly. It's a happy side effect of being out there on the beach. But
Yeah.
if you got to put a hoodie on, you may as well
Buy a new cool one.
buy a new cool one.
Yep.
Yeah, and if they have all of these different options, that wide net, we end up picking up a lot of extra business with all this cool merchandising.
I'm sure.
It's really been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's an aspect of the business that I didn't expect to enjoy. Mostly we just brew beer and smoke barbecue. But the merchandising has ended up being really a lot of fun.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming. And it was cool to kind of sit down and go through this because
And
it's
drink
kind of
beer.
been and drink beer because it's been a long process that you and I have been going back and forth on and it's been fun. It's been interesting, as far as you coming to us and us starting like in the middle of the whole branding process. So it's been cool.
Yeah. It's working.
It's great to hear. And then that's always the happy side effect is like hopefully, you come back and go, hey, it is working. We are selling merch. People love the logo. They want it on a tee. That's like, okay, that's a huge bonus, so.
Well, we brew a lot of different kinds of beers, and there's a lot of other kinds of beverages in our future, and that's going to require a lot of labels.
Perfect.
And a lot of different kinds of creative, concepts.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure we'll have plenty more work for you.
Sounds good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for driving up here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yep.
Anytime you want to drink beer, you just
Okay. Just give me a call. All right. I'm going to come down to you. We're going to drink at your place. So
Perfect. We'll sit on the beach. We'll do a bonfire.
There you go. That'll be the next stop. All right. So we got some cool gifts in the mail recently. So Smuglab sent us some new bats and a skateboard. So Brett at Smuglabs actually makes all of our axes for us. So every employee gets an axe. I don't know if you've seen them. They're upstairs.
Upstairs, yeah.
Yeah, mine's upstairs. But he's done all of our axes in the past. And so he made us a couple bats. Super stoked on these. Like, I'm still kind of tripping out on the whole laser engraving around a barrel in a shape like that,
Wow.
like, and it almost connects in the back. But
is-
super rad. And then the actual white one, like, I was super pumped on. But at the same time, he sent us this skateboard here that is laser engraved as well. So seeing this and, sitting down talking to you, we got to get some Seaside skateboards out there.
Everybody rides boards out there. Longboards.
Yeah.
We've got a skate park out there. My youngest, Connor, is graduating from high school on on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Shit.
And
Hell
all
yeah.
that kid does is
Skate.
just push.
Really?
Just
Nice.
skate.
Yep.
That's all he thinks about. Skate. Girls, skate.
Right.
Yeah, we would
gotta make that
love to
happen.
do stuff like that.
Yeah. Even if it's, I mean, maybe we get him to do some laser engraved, or we do some traditional, do some screen printed boards that you can have. I think you'd sell a shit ton at the store, you know?
For sure.
So yeah,
Yeah, we'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, thanks Brett, Smuglabs, super hyped on these. Got the Yeti with the beer helmet on there. So thank you, Brett. Appreciate it, man. Cool. And so that's it. Again, Jimmy, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, man.
Get this thing up on YouTube. You guys follow us, hit the like button, whatever those kids are doing out there. And until next time, have a good one.